Now what that means is this wasn't some random ragtag group of people that showed up. These were people that were following him. These were people that were seeking him. Many of these people were convinced, but none of these people were committed. You with me? They weren't committed to following Jesus. The very first time that he said something to them that they didn't understand, that made them uncomfortable, and that they didn't know what to do with, they stopped following. They stopped spending time with him. They turned around and walked away. The second thing that really struck me about this as I was reading it this week is Jesus let them go. Stop and think about that for a second. You know, if I was God, and thankfully that's not the case, but if I was God, I probably would have, you know, and I'm trying to get this worldwide movement going, I probably would have jumped up on one of the boats and said, wait, come back. You guys misunderstood totally what I was saying there. That whole part about eating my flesh, drinking my blood, I was trying for a different analogy. You didn't get it, don't worry about it. Just forget about that one part that I said. You want to see a miracle here? Look, I'll walk on the water for a little bit. You know, just come on back. Just don't leave. Just whatever you do, don't leave, because I need you. But the reality is, guys, when Jesus Christ had the decision between having hundreds, perhaps thousands, of partially committed followers versus 12 fully committed followers, Jesus chose the 12. God never changes. God is still seeking fully committed followers who want to spend time with him. So what does this mean to me? One of the things that I've become aware of recently as I've been interacting, even with you guys in other relationships in my life, is that there are huge areas of my heart that are still really hard. And some of you may have picked up on that just in conversations with me. Areas that need to be softened and can only be softened through Jesus Christ. I can't tell you specifically what those areas are. I can tell you I can't fix them on my own, and I can tell you that God has let me know clearly that they're there. But the only way that I'm going to get there is to accept the invitation that I talked about earlier with God. And that is for me to come before him and allow him the time to have an honest examination of my heart. And for me, it's going to be quiet. I'll be honest with you guys. For me, what's going to look like for me to be committed to spending time with God this week, it's going to be alone time and me in with a room. And it's going to be God doing a lot more talking and me doing a lot more listening. God, look at my heart, tell me what you see, do the work that needs to be done, and I'll just follow. So that's what it looks like for me. So what's it look like for you guys this week? What's it look like for you to commit to following, to commit even more so to spending time with God this week? The first thing I would ask you to consider is this. Where has God given you a realization about yourself? Something that's separating you from him. Another way of saying this is, what are you lacking? Spend time with Jesus and ask him that question. Another thing I would ask you to think about is, where are you connecting with God? Where are those places right now where you go to that when you walk in and you come out, you feel closer to God? And maybe think about being more intentional in those areas. And something for all of us guys in this group as we continue on forward here, I think it's not just about us. It's about us finding ways to take other guys and take them to God too as well. You know, as I've been thinking about this today, finishing up, the object of our commitment, I should say our commitment is only as good as the object of our commitment. For example, I could spend my entire life learning how to be a poker player, be an exceptional poker player. But eternally, that really doesn't matter very much. So what really matters is the object of our commitment. And for us, it's a person. It says in the book of John, there's no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. And that's exactly what our big brother did for us. The object of our commitment laid down his life for us, our Savior, and was fully committed to the point of death. He was then, he still is now. So tonight, guys, as we talk about where is it for you that God is extending you an invitation to spend more time with him? I want you to think about the exact same question that Jesus asked Peter and the disciples a couple thousand years ago, which is, are you going to leave me too? Or are you going to follow? Are you going to commit to spending time with me? All right, let's take a look at the questions. Where is God currently inviting you into a greater level of commitment to spending time with Him? Like I talked about, where do you think you're lacking? Where is God showing you that? Just like He did me this week. Where are you being successful? How can you bring other people along? What concerns or obstacles are associated with you saying yes to this choice, to this invitation? Maybe some of you are sitting on a fence right now. What's keeping you on the fence? What's it going to take to flip you off on the other side? Let us know. We'll give you a good kick. And tell us some practical steps you can take this week to accept this invitation. All right, leave the religious crap in the parking lot. 1, 2, 3, go.
Will and I are going to both close this out tonight because I want to share with you. I want you to imagine in your head a vision that a man had a few years ago. A vision where every man that was in his church would have a relationship with another man, where they would reach out, where they would share all their stuff, where they would pray for each other, where they would come together in a place and then turn around and reach backwards and hand it off to somebody else. But 5 years ago when I started at Blue Ridge, that was the thing that I heard. That was this vision. Woody had just come back from Nepal. He had seen this thing of people reaching, the older people reaching back to the younger people in the orphanage over there in Nepal. And what he saw was a vision of what it could be. That was over 5 years ago. 4.5 years ago, we started with a group of 3. This group of 3 was meeting on Friday morning. It turned into another group of 3 that started meeting every other Saturday morning. Just a bunch of new believers, just getting together, just trying to figure out this whole God thing and how it worked. Of course, 3 grew into 10, 10 grew into 20, and up until about 2 years ago, we were doing a Saturday morning breakfast. We were running 50 to 60, and Carol's had knocked out the wall, expanded the building, done everything that they could do in order to accommodate us. And then I went to Will and I said, I think we need to split the Saturday mornings. So we agreed, and this is funny, we agreed that we were going to start a Monday night group. And what we agreed before we walked in there that first Monday night was we'd only do it every other week. And that first night, you remember it? Yeah, it's just as clear as day. That first night, about 2 years ago, there we were in the back room over at Famous Anthony's. All we could fit was about 35 people in there. We had 30 people. That night, one guy accepted Christ. And I remember Will looked at me and said, dude, we got to do this every Monday night. And for the past 2 years, with the changes in the restaurants and people coming and going, what we've seen is that vision that Woody had 5 years ago. That dream of what it could really look like if men felt comfortable to come into a place where they could share their junk and not be judged and walk out of here and feel loved. And then talk to their neighbors, their friends, people who don't even come to the church, and say, why don't you come along and see? This whole thing was envisioned out of sitting around a table, so much like Jesus did. Sitting around a table and eating, just as he did with Matthew, just as he did with Zacchaeus, and even what Jesus says in Revelation, when he says, behold, I stand at the door and knock. And if anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat a meal with him. That is what this has been all about. So as you know, last week we hit 80. So we're here to tell you tonight, it's time to split again. So this Monday night group is going to be split next week, starting next week. Now, on Monday nights, we need half of you guys to go over to Golden Corral, over on Ward's Road, and then half of you to stay here. We have the opportunity, and I have to tell you this. You know, when we were over at Carol's, we had a couple of the waitresses and one of the husbands of the waitress accept Christ while we were over there. This last Sunday, two of our waitresses that were here are here for Saturday morning, one of which is here tonight, were there at the church on Sunday. So I was talking to her back there. She said, I sat in there and I just about cried. Another chance we have to be a light, to shine brightly in a whole different atmosphere, not only here with the 100 or so people that see us every Monday night, but now also to go to Golden Corral, to give us the space so that people, you can continue to invite your friends, your neighbors, the ones that don't know Jesus, who would not go to church, but would gladly come and sit down for a meal. We are a living Matthew party is what we are. We are men moving toward God. And so, I wanted to point that out because first off, I wanted to point out because we do eat. All right, these restaurants make money only because they allow us to come in here and do this. They give us discounts, they cut the prices. Golden Corral has also done the same for next week. But we need to be able to support the restaurants so that we always have that space. Tonight we only had a little over 50% eat in the room. And a lot of that, I understand, is because of Valentine's Day and other commitments and all of that. But this is an environment where we come together and we eat. We have arrangements for those who can't afford it. All you got to do is see us. All right, but we want to continue to be able to do this. And in order to do this, we need to come together and we need to do this together. Okay?